President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, received executives of the Spanish energy multinational Repsol to affirm the strengthening and exchange of hydrocarbons. In Panama, members of the political party Alianza Pueblo por la Vida showed that they will hold marches until the orderly closure of the mining company is achieved. The Israeli occupation forces continued their strike in several areas of the Gaza Strip. On Tuesday, a new massacre perpetrated by the Tel Aviv in central of Jabalia camps was registered. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll be with the news. Stay with us. The President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, received executives of the Spanish energy multinational Repsol to affirm the strengthening and exchange of hydrocarbons. The meeting held at the Miraflores Palace represents a progress in a cooperation and high-level commercial exchange between the Venezuelan state-owned oil company PDVSA and the Spanish energy multinational Repsol. The relations between both oil companies are based on truth and legal security to guarantee sustainable development as well as shared profits. This Monday, the oil company subscribes a series of agreements that will allow improving the execution of oil and gas activities with the joint administration of the company Petroquieres and 7 annexes that integrate a company that operates in the state of Monagas, Zulia, and Trujillo.
We have reached 2 extremely important agreements for Spain, for Venezuela, for Repsol, and for PDVSA. We are in the process of rebirth of the oil industry.
Francisco Gea Pascual del Riquelme, General Director of Repsol, described these agreements as a continuation of a good relationship based on commitments in favor of the Venezuelan nation.
Today's agreement is a sign of continuity in the relationship and commitment that Repsol has maintained with the country, not only with the industry, but also with the society, which has welcomed us in order to continue our activity for much longer.
The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, will challenge the anti-immigration law enacted by the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. The Mexican president points out that with the measures, the governor Abbott is usurping functions that have to do with foreign policies and that only corresponds to the Congress and the government of the United States. President López Obrador also denounced that the anti-migrants measure is a slight attempt by the governor to gain sympathy in order to become a candidate for the vice presidency of the Republican Party. The new law signed by Greg Abbott, which could go into effect in March 2024, allows any Texas police officers to detain people suspected of having entered the country without papers. In the United States, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed into law state law 4, which authorizes local officials and law enforcement to detain and arrest undocumented migrants on charges of illegal entry. Meanwhile, civil rights organizations and figures in the administration of President Joe Biden called the rule unconstitutional. The government of Texas is characterized for maintaining a drastic anti-immigration law policy that has expelled more than 65,000 migrants. In Panama, members of the political party Alianza Pueblo Unido por la Vida assured that they will hold marches until the orderly closure of the mining company is achieved. Educators and trade unionists are forecasted to meet this Tuesday at 4 p.m. local time in Porras Park to then head to the presidency of the Republic. With this type of demonstration, citizens hope that the operation of the first Canyon mineral and the persecution and Prosecution of leaders who fight against mining will cease. For its part, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry state that Panama is initiating the process for the definitive closure of Panama copper mine, a fact that comes after the formal notification of ruling of unconstitutionality of Law 406. In Cuba, His Excellency Mr. Darwish S. Haman Haj-Abalin, President of the Green Sun Foundation, GCF, participates in the central activity of the World Arabic Language Day. During his visit to Havana, Hamed Haj-Abani signed an agreement to expand the Arab-Spanish exchange project and promote the learning of the Arabic language.
We have decided to go for the language, Arabic language, in the land of Latinian land, in the Caribbean. And we picked Cuba. We could say that we picked it as a start. But this start is important. You need to find the right soil to go on embed the seed. And there is no better land to go and put the seed in order to grow this particular project. Cuba has got culture, has got history, a civilized place. Cuba is under pressure. Cuban are quality. Cuban people are friendly. People of Cuba has already proven to me in this week that I've been in Cuba that they are the starting point. That's why we picked Havana. That's why we said we start Havana. And that's why we feel that from Havana we will go out of the city into the Caribbean Sea countries and Latin America. So wish us all the best, because we would like and we would love to move from here into the rest of the countries, inshallah.
Let's take our first break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The Israeli occupation forces continue their air strike against several areas on the Gaza Strip. A new massacre perpetrated by the Tel Aviv in the center of Jabalia camp was registered on Tuesday. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, this act left more than 10 people dead and about 70 wounded, including numerous people in critical conditions. At the same time, they reported that there were attacks adjacencies to the Jabalia Medical Center, which left an undetermined number of people dead and wounded. The United Nations Children Fund denounced attack perpetrated by the occupation forces against the largest operating hospital in the Gaza Strip. In declarations to the press, the spokesman in Geneva, this organization, James Elder, announced that the Al-Nasser hospital located in the city of Khan Yunis, south of Gaza, was attacked twice in the last 48 hours. The official stressed that these hospitals treats a large number of children injured in previous attacks on their homes. The UNICEF spokesman lamented that Gazan children cannot find peace even in the so-called safe zones designated by Tel Aviv as such. Elder points out that such attacks show once again that Gaza Strip is the most dangerous place in the world for children, a reality that is reinforced every day. On Tuesday, a study revealed that a large part of the Gaza population suffered from several levels of hunger due to the Israeli aggressions against the Gaza Strip, which includes a policy of total blockade. According to a survey by the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor, 98% of those interviewed state that they do not consume enough food. 71% of the inhabitants of the area suffer from severe levels of hunger and dehydration as they live in just 1.5 liters of water per day, small figure according to the international standards. While 64% report that they eat food that has expired to meet their needs. In Palestine, floods caused by heavy rains aggravate the complex humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, in addition to the constant Israeli bombardments. Human rights organizations highlight that 10 camps are affected by floods. In this sense, locals said that due to the climatic situation, several houses were destroyed since many of them were built with wood and plastic sheets and improvised shelters in the face of the destruction caused by Israeli bombardments. The complicated situation is compounded by the increase in cases of infectious diseases due to the accumulation of mud and sweat. In Palestine, the Israeli occupation forces are destroying the Gaza health system with impunity on a daily basis. Mohammed Sakir, emergency director of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, one of the areas most besieged by the Zionist troops in recent weeks, tell us about the daily road faced by workers and patients.
Como pueden ver, es un crimen horrendo en todos los sentidos.
As you can see, it is a horrible crime in every way. The relative of Daunia Abu Meksen were attacked when her house was destroyed. More than 10 people of her family were massacred. Daunia survived because she clung to life. She didn't want to die. Today, with a bomb thrown directly from a tank, she was hit in the head and her brain was splattered on the wall in a horrible crime and in front of other children and sick people. Next to her were also wounded about 5 or 6 children and women. This bomb went through the wall and hit Daunia, a 13-year-old girl. This morning the hospital was bombed. A sound bomb was also thrown at the tents of several displaced people, and this is part of the scenario of the occupation army, which attacks and beats houses and hospitals. They send people from the north to the south. Now the south is also being attacked. Even the only hospitals that are left are being bombed, like the Nasser Hospital and the European Hospital. The enemy wants to destroy them, and here we see the killing children that are inside this hospital without prior warning or the minimum communication that warns that there is danger. The attacks started 2 weeks ago in the north of Khan Yunis without any warning to the population or to the same hospital to evict. The only explanation for these direct attacks is that the occupation wants to exterminate all signs of life in the Gaza Strip and attack the safe and unsafe hospital, although there is nothing safe left in the Gaza Strip. It attacks everyone, including children and the elderly, in a continuous war crime in the Gaza Strip without anyone lifting a finger to stop them.
The President of Israel, Isaac Herzog, expressed his willingness to negotiate a second humanitarian pause with the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas in exchange for a second release of hostages. The Israeli president referred to this possibility by highlighting the alleged humanitarian efforts of Israel since October 7 for the entry of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The ruler said several reactions have been generated among them from the United Nations in rejection to the Israeli attacks that prevents the arrival of state aid to Gaza people. The Israeli head of state reiterated that the pronouncement of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who refuses to open the current Shalom border crossing and the entry of other humanitarian aid. In the United States, protests continue in support of the Palestinian people in the face of the Israeli attack on the Gaza Strip. In New York, hundreds of people mobilized on the streets under the slogan "From Gaza to the End in Revolution Until Victory" in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Groups of demonstrators carry Palestinian flags to demand a ceasefire in Gaza. Likewise, several Arab, Islamic, and Western countries denounce Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join that red link, share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. We'll find out your breakdown. Go away. Welcome back. On Tuesday, Argentina's meteorological service issued a red alert for extreme heat and yellow alert for storm in some localities of the country. Authorities informed that a heat wave of up to 32 degrees is expected in the localities of Jujuy and Misiones, while the localities of Corrientes, Formosa, Chico, and Neuquén will be affected by rains, thunderstorm, and possible hail. The nation's meteorological service recommends citizens to stay hydrated, avoid physical activities, and not to expose themselves to sunlight. Severe flooding has hit northwestern Australia as a result of the passage of Cyclone Jasper. Australian Emergency Management Ministry in Murray-Wade reported that at least 150 people were deployed on Monday to assist with emergency relief and evacuations in several towns that were cut off in the so far the northeast of the country. The government sent emergency helicopters to evacuate residents of the town between the indigenous community of Uyal and the town of Port Douglas, north of the city of Cairns, which are the areas most affected by the flooding. Violent fighting in Khartoum, Sudan capital, over the past 72 hours caused more than 300,000 people to flee the country. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, almost all the refugees in the Wada Madani camp south of the capital have left the area. Violent clashes between the Sudanese army and paramilitary rapid support forces have unleashed terror. According to the International Organization for Migration, these people were set out on the foot as there is not a fuel for any means of transport. In that line, the cave where football players and their coach were trapped will be partially reopened for tourism. The cave was the scene of the episode that shocked the world in 2018 when the teenagers of the Wall football team and their coach were trapped for more than 2 weeks, triggering an almost impossible rescue operation carried out by divers, sailors, and hundreds of volunteers. In this sense, more than 5 years later, the cave was reopened to the public, consolidating it as a tourist site. Guides could have a maximum of 10 people per group, and only 2 groups per day are allowed to enter. During the 3-hour tour, the local guide explains the operation to visitors while they can observe the tool used in the rescue.
Tourists can witness with their own eyes the area from which the boys and their coach were rescued. Although Chamber 3 of the cave is only 800 meters from the entrance, it takes about an hour to cover a distance of a guided group tour. During the rescue mission, which involved about 300 to 400 people, it took about an hour to get the boys from Chamber 3 to the entrance. It would be an incredible experience for tourists.
And we move on to a note related to the world of sports. In Spain, the Professional Football League presented on Tuesday before the European Union Council its projects to combat racism for the next season. In the framework of the Spanish presidency of the Council of the European Union, the sports organization explains its actions on racism, xenophobia, and intolerance in sports. In this sense, La Liga highlights its intentions to have sanctioning powers with the aim of penalizing hate crimes within the competitions. Furthermore, the league explains the Spanish regulatory structure and its actions with players, clubs, fans, and authorities to eradicate misconduct in sports and to exercise disciplinary authority over incidents that occurred at its matches. And we have come to the end of this brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide alternative news sources to the latest sports events. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also use on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.